Got a little bit of work done here. The wiring routing is actually starting to shape up a bit. So our tentative wiring for now is going to run basically down this way and on the lower side of this swooping up. So originally I thought about running it over top here, which was like going to be the shortest distance, but one thing I forgot, or well, I didn't forget but didn't think about, is that this is actually the header that's in between the intake manifold. That's kind of like a common Dalton design there. So that kind of basically, without being able to heat shield it and then nowhere to really mount it, what I did not know was that these bolts are actually the head bolts. So these big guys out here, so they're exterior to the motor. So definitely not going to use that. So we're just going to go the long way around. We're going to start off here, just kind of loop under everything and go around. So as you can see, we have everything's just kind of twisted up here, so nothing's actually secured. So we're going to test this really quick. So we're going to look over here and we've got throttle. So I'm going to actuate the throttle, and as you can see, we got that working. Then here we got coolant temp. So the easiest way to test coolant temp is actually not even with a thermometer. It's literally unplugging it. So we're gonna see if I can do that one-handed. And as you can see, the temperature defaulted to 180. And then I'm gonna wiggle this guy back in. And then bam, 54 degrees, which feels pretty accurate. That's kind of what ambient feels like. So we got that there. And unfortunately, I did get bamboozled on our intake air temp sensor. So that's not here. I went ahead and ordered another kit to get that. So that's basically it for today. So yeah, so we're making pretty decent progress here. Like I said, our wiring routing is starting to shape up. As you can see, the injectors are, now we're going to see that now that we have like how everything's going to run, we now know that our injector harness is obviously way too long. So we're going to start trimming that up and cleaning it up. So what happens after this? Well, obviously our IAT gets here and we'll hook that up. And IAT needs to be before the throttles. So as you can see, we don't really have a provision for it. So on multiple ITB cars, I just literally have it hanging. Not the prettiest solution, but it works. So IAT sensor is probably just going to hang out somewhere around here. We'll figure out a nice little mount for it, and which will bolt on, and then it'll just kind of hang out there. We have to find out how to hook up the fuse box that I made yesterday, like where to actually mount it, and then we can clean up that side of the harness there. And then basically we have a bunch of accessory stuff that we're not hooking up yet, so we'll leave these alone, and we're basically going to cut and clean up the wires that we have currently that need to be done. So tomorrow, hopefully, we can start building our throttle cable linkage stuff, and then hopefully by tomorrow we'll actually have a solid running car. So the only thing that we're lacking right now is our wideband. So we got to get it off the dyno and hook up the wideband. However, I can use our dyno's wideband and just tune it that way. We won't have any of the closed loop functions working, but it'll be enough for me to dyno the car, wide open throttle. So we may go that route. So that's still kind of up in the air. But so that's where we're at. We're making really good progress. Unfortunately, I couldn't devote a lot of time to it. I've been working on the Fuel Tech Z31 install today. So just wanted to give you fellas an update, let you know kind of where we're at. So hopefully by tonight, I'll have the majority of this required portion cleaned up and ready to rock. Okay, so we got our intake air temp sensor. Just like I said before, this is sensor ground, and then this other side is running to the intake air temp input wire. And as you can see, we've got intake air temp. So they're both GM sensors, so they're pretty close in reading. Obviously one's in coolant, the other's not. And just like I said before, we're gonna try to unhook this. So we got it partially unhooked. We see it's in, popped out, and you can see the temperature defaults to 70. And then I'm gonna try to slide this back in one-handed. Yep. And there you go. So we got intake air temp. So we're just going to figure out how to mount everything. But at this point, we've got our routing mostly done, so we can actually start cleaning it up now. So yay for that. So I've got the wires ran for the TPS coolant temp and IAT here. Got the injectors wired up. So hopefully this looks a bit less intimidating now. We still have all the additional harness still running across there, but this is essentially where it's gonna go. I may make these injector harnesses on the production harness a little bit longer, because I'd like to see if we can get them to come up from under into these injectors instead of coming up here. So if we can have it with the rest of the harness coming up, that may be something that we'll look into. The way things are looking though is that we're going to have to build some type of mounting system to hold the harness further out away from the header deal there, but we've got it looking pretty good here, I think. We've got all that wiring ran, so I think it's cleaned up quite a bit, but I mean, it doesn't take much to look better than what it did last time. So we've got everything hooked up, everything's working. Everything is all electric taped up though, so, and it's going to be like that. We're not going to solder or crimp anything unless there's multiple connections, and this is basically it. So remember guys that this is a roadmap to how the actual harness is going to look, and also keep in mind that we still have more testing to do. We still have a whole other intake manifold we've got to test. So yep, there's that. Like I said, we've got all that. We've got all the additional wiring wrapped up over there. We've got this wire mostly cleaned up enough where I think it's a lot better than what it was before. And then, so tomorrow our plan is to get this throttle cable holder built, to get this finally situated here so we can have working throttle. And at that point, realistically, we're actually ready to tune this thing on this manifold here. We still got a little bit odds and ends, mounting all this, putting hose clamps on everything like we're supposed to. But you know, I think we're making some pretty decent progress here.